Everyone, Gretchen Wegner here, creator of the Anti-Boring Approach to Powerful Studying. And today I want to talk to you about some pretty major mistakes that I made last year. It's January 2019 when I'm making this video, and I've been thinking a lot about 2018, and there were two mistakes in particular that I made that were mistakes. They were blunders. If I could go back in time, part of me wishes that I could make some radically different choices. And I want to reflect about this idea of mistakes right now, because I believe one of the serious issues with our culture and also with our education and with the mental health of young people these days is too many people are frightened of making mistakes and do everything they can to protect themselves from making mistakes. And it sets people up to be really, depressed and anxious and constantly running to try and keep mistakes from happening. And so I am on a mission this year to explore the idea of mistakes and help us make more of them, but make them mindfully. So first of all, let's look at what a mistake is. I just did a quick Google search, and I think this was from Merriam-Webster, but I really enjoyed some of these definitions. One of them is to blunder in the choice of something. So mistakes are related to our decision making, and we also know that teenagers, don't have full access to their executive functions, so they will often blunder in their choices. But another is to misunderstand one of two things: the meaning of something or the intention behind something. I thought that was interesting. And then this last one here is just to identify something wrongly. And so I want to talk to you about the two mistakes I made, and I want to reflect about these two mistakes in the following way. I want to tell you about the mistake, I want to tell you about the consequences, and then I want to tell you what I learned. At the very end of this, I'll tell you why this set of three is very useful for teachers and families to help guide students through reflecting on. But right now, I'll just model it for myself. So one of the first mistakes that I want to talk about is it was financial. I made the choice to turn my business into an LLC. You don't need to know what that means, but what I needed to do because of that is I needed to move all of my money over to a new bank and have a business banking account. And so I just made an assumption that the bank I'm at would be a great bank to use for my business, and I just moved all my money there. I didn't pay any attention to what they offered in business banking or how well their systems worked. Put all my money over there and then just watched as all of my bookkeeping systems started to crumble, because this particular bank, I hadn't done the research and I hadn't realized it's a credit union and they don't have really good online banking services, and all of my bookkeeping lives online. I depend on having on having these software, grab all the data from the bank and put it into my QuickBooks and my YNAB, my You Need a Budget, and my Stripe and my PayPal. And it was really a mess. And I stopped even knowing how much money I had to spend for a while. And finally, I pulled it all back into the old accounts. I closed that bank account, and I realized that I needed to do some more specific research. I had no idea how dependent I am on online banking services and automatic downloads, and now I know. And so the mistake, the blunder, to use this definition, actually, let's look at this again. The blunder in the choice of, or the misunderstanding I had, what I identified wrongly in this situation, is that the business banking accounts would work just as well as the personal banking accounts at this bank. I didn't do research, and I should have. So the consequence, and it really felt horrific. I mean, I was in tears at the bank several times. The consequence is that I slowed down a lot of my business systems for 6 months worth, in fact, because I had to suddenly back up and fix a lot of the problems that this created. And so what I learned from it is I need to be much more mindful. I have to ask the bank several questions, and I also need to include my team. I never had my bookkeeper or my accountant help me with this process. I did it all by myself. I shouldn't have been doing that. I see students do that all the time. They get into trouble and they try and get out of trouble all by themselves, just like I tried to do. So what I learned is do research and ask for help in that situation. Okay, so mistake number 2 was when I went on a solo camping trip over the summer. And I was gone for 10 days in a rented camper van. It was so much fun. I went to the Sierras, the mountains in California. And one day I was camped down by a river. I think it was the San Joaquin River. I forget what river. I forget what. But anyway, I was camped down there, no cell phone access. I decided to go on a hike this one day, and I set out. And when I got like maybe 15 minutes down the path away from my tent, I realized, oh, I didn't bring along any migraine medication with me on this hike, and I'm feeling a little headachy. Now, I have had migraines for 20 years, and they are debilitating when they happen. And but I was feeling lazy in that moment. So what was my mistake? How did I blunder in the choice of? I was like, oh, I don't want to go back. Oh, getting exercise will be good for me. You know, that'll fix the headache. I don't have to go back. So I identified wrongly that being out in nature and getting exercise and having a lot of oxygen and, you know, having a beautiful space around me would help my pain. It did not. I finally had to, luckily at this place, this was near Mammoth, I was able to take a bus back to my campsite, which is an unusual thing to be able to do. And then for the next 24 hours, I just lay in pain in my tent. And I had no one to call. I didn't have appropriate food. You know, when I have migraines, I throw up a lot. And so I was throwing stuff up. I didn't have food to eat. It was miserable and hard. And actually, the migraine did pass the next day, but the pain kind of stuck around. So for about 3 or 4 days, I was really scared. And by this point, I had run out of medication. And so there were 2 things that I did wrong here. I was lazy and I didn't go back to get medication that history told me I need. And the second thing is, on this 10-day solo adventure, I didn't bring any backups with me. I really should have brought backups with me. So that was the mistake. The consequences were that I lost 1 day to total pain, but about 4 days of my vacation were deeply affected by this blunder of mine. And so what I learned is, even if I think I know how the migraines are going to play out, I don't really know, and I should always be prepared and always bring a backup. So those are the 2 mistakes that I made. And you know, as I think about it, if I could really live my life over again, would I not make those mistakes? Well, it's so funny. Actually, yeah, I would bring more medication if I could live my life over again, you know, and I would totally save myself from the hassle and tears of all the thinking how that happened. But the point here is that we can learn from our mistakes. And I would love to have more families be in regular conversation. Today, my podcast co-host and I joked that it should be Mistake Mondays at dinner time, where we ask, what mistakes did you make today? Celebrate the mistakes, and then discuss what you learned from the mistakes. Let's make it less scary to make mistakes, but also make sure that we're making mistakes mindfully and learning from them so we can apply the lessons into the future. So that's what I wanted to share with you all today. The last quick thing I'll say is that if you are intrigued with this idea of learning how to make mistakes more mindfully, that's one of the things that I talk about in both the Anti-Boring Approach to Powerful Studying, which is an online course for students, and the Art of Inspiring Students to Study Strategically, which is my online course for educators. And I would love to have you join us to dig into what is the toolbox that we need both in academics, but also in life, to be able to make mistakes mindfully and to be able to learn from them so that we have happier, less stressful lives, and also so that we make better grades. And it's weird to say that the key to better grades is learning how to make mistakes more mindfully, but it's true. So feel free to go to GretchenWegner.com if you want more information, or just send me an email, Gretchen@GretchenWegner.com, and I'm happy to chat with you about mistake making. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.